25 to 27 was the problem time. Early 20s, drinking, but again, no more than anybody else was drinking. Gone out, maybe having a few drinks beforehand, calmed us down, happy days, gone out. I wasn't thinking to myself, I'm self-conscious, I need to have a drink to go out. It was just a mechanism that kind of dropped in there really without much thought. Like took some speed, really enjoyed the feeling of speed, really like enjoyed. With alcohol, it was always get towards the end of the night and start to feel a bit groggy and everything else. With speed, that grogginess came the next day. The come down came the next day. Just enjoyed the feeling of speed. It didn't take it for too long. Then started going out, what I would term proper clubbing, introduced to ecstasy and cocaine. And it was those two things that, for a couple of years, it was really good fun, and going out and taking ecstasy, taking coke, getting high was just the most amazing thing. And I'm not going to lie about that. We had some amazing nights out with my friends who used to go clubbing with. Saw some like world's best DJs in this little club in Newcastle where we used to always go, and just had the time of our lives. But as I got around about 25, I started feeling anxious, and the anxiety started to come.
Is this like after you kind of, obviously during the week, were you feeling more anxious, or were you feeling anxious when you're taking the drugs?
Before anytime I wasn't taking the drugs, I felt anxious. So I think my natural anxiety and problems with being self-conscious, while when I was having a drink or then subsequently when I was taking drugs, were like had disappeared. It just exacerbated what I thought it started to settle down. The anxiety kind of, it didn't roar back because it was just a steady build. But I would say around about the age of 25, I started to notice it on the day-to-day and started to feel like there was a little bit paranoia creeping in about like people looking at us and like judging how I looked, and the fact that I was taking drugs was just kind of sending that off into the stratosphere. And the more drugs that I took, like, again, like I had great times and I just loved the feeling of getting high on ecstasy. I loved taking cocaine. I like enjoyed it. It wasn't like, it wasn't, oh God, I need to take some cocaine because I feel self-conscious. It was like, I really want to take some cocaine because it's mint. And then how I feel. And I would describe myself now as an addict, because if you say it was now, would you like to take a line of cocaine? Say yes, because I really liked the way that it used to feel. And if it feels the same nowadays, if it was a line of cocaine there and you said there was no chance of it affecting your mental health as a line of cocaine, I would want to take that cocaine, because it was just, that was the drug that I loved taking in particular.
So when did it get bad then, Chris? I mean, it sounds like you were
at the
pretty much having a handle on it and just going through normal anxiety, which people do. It's usually because of the come downs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But you weren't masking it with more. You weren't kind of doing it to kind of feel numb again because you didn't want that anxiety. So, like, when did it get a bit tricky?
So for me, when I started to notice it more, like I accepted that midweek blues was a thing. Everybody knew about the midweek blues. If you were taking stuff on a weekend, I wasn't taking stuff every day. It was just like, right, I'm going to get the midweek blues. I'll handle the midweek blues. I'm going to feel shite in the middle of the week. That's just how you feel. But the anxiety felt a little bit different. And from talking to people about like the midweek blues, it would come on a Tuesday. You'd feel rough on a Wednesday. Thursday was a little bit dodgy. By the time Friday rolled around, though, you're ready to go again, and everything's happy days, or at least that's the theory. For me, it was just anxiety all the time, always feeling a bit paranoid, and like thinking to myself, like standing in queues and standing still was an issue for us. Like going shopping, like I used to go like do a bit shopping. I was still living at my mum and dad's. still working at Royal Mail, where I would like go and do my own shopping and things like that, and like stand in the queue. I remember standing, I was doing bowling, and every time I was in the queue, I would start to feel like sweaty and hot. And I wasn't imagining it because I could feel like the sweat in my hair. And I was just like, shit, people know I'm like sweating. And then that would be like looking around. I dare say not one person paid any attention because everyone's just wrapped up in their own lives. And was one of the first things that the therapist said when we went into therapy, and he was like, didn't take this the wrong way, but not many people care about other people's lives and you're no different. And it was like, he was so direct with that kind of thing. It was like that stuff really like stayed with us, and that stuff really helped us. But at the time it was like, I'm sweating here, like, and then sometimes I would just give it up, wouldn't stay in the queue. I would just go and put the stuff back. Rather go back in the shop, put all the stuff back that I'd picked up, put the basket down and leave, than wait another 2 minutes in the queue and pay for my stuff and go. And
because if you look back now, it's, if you were that person now, you'd be like, I've got a problem, because you could see it completely clearly, couldn't you? But at the time, you just needed to get out, and that was the right way to do.
I was living. It was
but it's mad when you look back though, and you go, if I did that now, I've got a problem. It is. It's kind of, it's mad that I would do that, and why would I do that? But at the time, you just want to get out and you want to kind of change the place that you're in, because you just want to, the anxiety's too much.
Yeah.
So when did you go, this is a problem? When was that pinnacle moment that you go, I'm having problems, I need to sort this out?
Well, I lived like that for about 2 years. And again, like, it wasn't like one day I was kind of feeling the midweek blues and stuff, and then the next day I was just had this 24/7 anxiety. It kind of crept up and built up and built up and built up. I was still going out, dealing with the anxiety, never took a day off work through it, never got into a situation with debt through it, never, like, to be fair, I lived with my mum and dad, I was working full time. I wasn't a union rep then, so all I had to do was go into work, deliver the parcels, and go home. Never walked into work, got sent home because I was obviously feeling the after effects of big nights out or anything like that. Kept it extremely internal. And I think I'd had practice at internalizing and hiding how I was feeling inside because of all them years of teenage, like, anxiety about how I looked and the self-confidence issue, so I could mask it quite well. Never got into problem with dealers or anything like that, like, so, and nobody ever come up with us and said, you need to get help, like, you're going a little bit far. It was just me, like, my thing, and like my own sort of battle. And because it built up slowly, I just learned to cope with it. It wasn't like I didn't fall off a cliff into this like anxious mess. It just built up, and that was normal to me. To like now, like, my anxiety levels are up here, and regular anxiety levels are just like here. So everybody's got them. Everyone like worries to different degrees, but my like regular anxiety level will have been like up here. So for a regular person who probably didn't have a cocaine habit, to get to there is some like probably life-changing event, like or loss of job or something like that. But because I'd built it up slowly, that was just my normal. But it was when I used to deliver the Metro Centre, and the day it came on top and the day it like crashed down, so to speak, in not very spectacular fashion, by the way. There's no like sort of Hollywood kickoff or out like that. But I was delivering in the Metro Centre. I used to do that round, and I was delivering. This is how long ago it was. It was Callis Pegasus, the travel agent, and by that time we had the machines to sign on. It was this big brick of a thing, and I can remember handing the machine over to the lass, and she had curly blonde hair, and she was quite attractive. I remember that about her. And I remember asking her to sign her name, and then that thing of like the sweats started, but like in a way that I hadn't felt before. All of a sudden, I could fit. My top was just soaked, and I started struggling to breathe. Got the thing back, signed her name, got the thing back, and I just like walked quickly across the mall. And when you're delivering the Metro Centre, the fire exits, you go through them to get into the service corridors where you park your vans in the service yards. Burst through that door, slammed it shut, and just sat on the ground in the service corridor, this long grey corridor, and I was just sat there and I couldn't breathe. My chest was just tight, and what I now know was a massive panic attack, but I didn't know what it was then. I just sat there and I was like, just like gone for a minute. Like I just didn't know what was happening. And then I pulled myself around, started breathing. I'm like looking at myself, and I'm just like, I'm like, this is bad. This like, so I went back to my van, sat in my van, and it was a Sage Mobile. It was my first mobile phone, and I had the doctor's number on it, and rang the doctors, and like, just said to them like, she was like, yeah. And this was about 3 PM, by the way. It wasn't like you know, it was supposed to ring on the morning or boot in advance. And I can remember just saying, I don't know what's the matter. And I tried to describe what had happened. And I says, look, can I have an appointment? She was like, you need to ring back up tomorrow. And I was like, begged her for an appointment. And she says, give us a minute. Went and came back and says, look, Gus, going for 5:30 and the doctor will see you. So I was like, right, champion. So I remember hanging up the phone, got myself together, carried on the day, and then went to the doctors and sat in the doctors. You know, like GPs are always overrunning. And I'm sat in the doctors and it started again, and I was just like, I'm fucking out of feel. Like, it was about 10 to 6 by the time my name came over. Went in, and I guess I don't look too dissimilar. I'm probably in a bit more of a state than I am right now, but sat down and he looked at us and he goes, what's up? And I went, nothing. And he goes, are you sure? And I go, yeah, I'm just feeling a bit rough. And he's like, right. And he looked at us and he goes, are you drinking too much? And I was like, no, which I wasn't. And he says, and what about drugs? And just started crying again. He was like, so I told him, basically just spilled pretty much everything. And I remember him saying, it was like that moment, just saying, which was wise advice, just saying, I think you should stop taking drugs, Christopher. And I just looked at him like, I think you read it.